Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Claudia, hosting for BC, British Columbia, Canada's podcast. And today we have a special guest, Jonathon Narvey. He's the CEO of MindMeld PR. And Jonathon, before we start your interview, I want you to introduce yourself. But before, not to mention that you're an entrepreneur and journalist. Who is Jonathon Narvey?
Oh, wow. There's a lot to get into. Thanks for having me, Claudia. So I guess I'll try to keep this brief. I'm a former journalist turned marketing wonk turned PR pro. MindMeld PR is the PR agency that I founded and run alongside a team of dedicated PR pros. And like probably others in the industry, in the PR industry and marketing industry, made the transition from news to PR, and I've probably many lessons to impart from that journey.
And how was this transition when you're not more anymore in a newsroom for working with the PR, and then of course opening your own company as an entrepreneur?
Well, I can tell you one thing: it pays better. So I don't know if you've been paying attention to the media industry in general, but it's not a very the industry has problems, and it's not to say that I don't love journalists and journalism, because I do. We're interacting with journalists all the time, and I am probably the biggest news junkie around. I read the news, I watch the news, I'm on Twitter all day. And that said, when I got into it, back decades ago, it was already clear, the problems that the media industry was having in adapting to an online world were already clear, even when the internet was in its infancy. And we've seen the collapse of newsrooms, lots and lots of layoffs all the time. Salaries are stagnant. So anyways, I had to get out because, it's not that you can't succeed in journalism. Absolutely. There are people who do. The top folks who are getting book deals and they're getting invited to TV panels. They're doing great. Good for them. I wasn't in that cohort. So I think my probably my work ethic and maybe business skills, I was a bit of a late bloomer. So around my mid to late 20s, started transitioning into more marketing roles. A friend of mine he was VP marketing for a software firm. He says to me, Jonathon, I know you're a journalist. Do you know anyone who writes press releases? And I say, well, maybe. What do you need? He says, well, our agency in New York, they're really expensive and they kind of suck. We just want someone who can, write for, X amount, and X amount was way more than I thought they would be paying. So I was like, oh, well, and I've seen 10,000 press releases. I bet I can write one or a bunch. And I did, and they liked that. And then they liked some other content writing I was doing for them. And so that was my start in a range of marketing roles. And I was often doing journalism on the side. So I started off working for community newspapers and freelancing for magazines. And then I was West Coast editor for BetaKit, a technology publication. And anyways, gradually I figured out that the people I worked with, whether on the marketing side of things, whether it was internal roles or consulting, the thing that they found mystifying and interesting and valuable was PR. How to get them into the news, how to make them famous. They couldn't, still a lot of CEOs and a lot of companies think this is sorcery. And as you probably know from, when things are mysterious and you need some kind of weird expertise to do it, and is not something you can easily just outsource to some junior member of the team, people will pay for that. So I thought, oh, well, I should just do that. I'm just going to focus on that because that seems to be the thing that they care about. Even if I was only doing it for a couple hours a week off the side of my desk, that was always the high demand thing. So yeah, cut to a couple years later, and the MindMeld PR agency is making tech companies famous all over the place. We get them news coverage in USA Today, Newsweek, Forbes, Fast Company, etc. You want to get famous fast or slow, whichever way you like, we will do that for you.
That's amazing. And it was like, as you're saying, it feels like it was a natural process that you guys would be more related to tech industry. How was this? I mean, because you were in the news, you were like reporting different kind of content, but how you really get to the tech companies?
Well, there's a few reasons for this. First is just it was the easiest thing for me to transition to because some of the when I was transitioning into a more marketing heavy role, I was still doing tech journalism. So working with a company called Tech Vibes and then later Beta Kit. And this was just, I can't say it made me rich or anything, but it was a good way to, I could throw, I don't know, I could throw a lot of stories at them every week, and they were happy with that. Tech companies, maybe it's a little, the economy has gone a little sideways in 2024. Funding rounds are down, particularly in Canada. It's a mess. But in the heady days of not that many years ago, tech was on fire. They were hiring like mad. Frankly, hiring too much. Like we saw the layoffs this year and last year with X and Google and Facebook, and all these giant companies are trimming their workforces of people who, frankly, a lot of them probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. But in those days, when I started MindMeld PR, tech was on fire. It's still doing okay, and I'm sure it'll rebound even more soon enough. But from an economics perspective, like what industry I should focus on, tech seemed like the thing. They have budgets. They're used to making big bets on explosive results. And versus a small business of some kind or maybe a more traditional business, they're maybe not. It's not as easy to get results with PR, and they often don't have budgets. Like a lot of PR agencies will focus on restaurants and lifestyle, which I understand there's a niche, but it's also super competitive because a lot of PR pros just like working with those kinds of businesses. They're fun. And I guess, that was another reason why we focused on tech is just it's an opportunity for those who are not intimidated by nerdiness and technical mumbo jumbo. And so that's something I'm perfectly okay with, operating in this universe of software as a service, B2B, this and that, AI powered, whatever, a lot of technical jargon, which, by the way, we like when we're pitching reporters, we take out the technical jargon, but it's sort of understood. You have to be able to work with people who speak that kind of language. That can be intimidating for someone who's used to just working with, let's say, cool restaurants and night spots and stuff, which, and again, that's lifestyle PR. Kudos to companies and agencies that can make that work, because it's a valuable niche. Hotspots need to get people in the door. That's probably maybe a more expansive answer than you were expecting. There's more to it, but maybe that kind of gets to the core of why we focused on tech.
Stay ahead of the game with our expert tips and strategies that will help your business thrive in a digital era. CanadasPodcast.com. Subscribe now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, I know like through my mouth PR as well, like whenever I have these clients and all this interaction, you have to pretty much deal with the CEOs and the entrepreneurs of some startups. So I was wondering, how is this connection that you have as an entrepreneur try to show them the importance of have a PR agency?
Right.
Because as you were saying, it's a work in progress, right? You raise awareness of a brand. It's not just something that you can measure pretty quick.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, this sort of ties into the philosophical reason of why we chose this space is, beyond the economics of it or the ease of it, we're trying to do something big, which is we are trying to help humanity flourish by helping the entrepreneurs and tech leaders who are building the amazing products that make our technologically enhanced lives possible. We're trying to help those people succeed. So let me break this down a little bit. I come from an era, like I'm definitely pre-internet. So back in the day, before computers really got big, a lot of the founders and tech leaders that we work with today, back in the 60s, 70s, maybe they'd be working as engineers, maybe they'd be working as teachers, or maybe part-time bookkeepers if they had some good math skills, but maybe their social skills were just a little bit off-putting, so they had trouble finding work. This was kind of the case for a lot of the most skilled, most talented, most analytically brilliant people in our midst. That there are a lot of people who are just not. It wasn't quite let's hide this person in the basement, but it was they were misfits. They had trouble fitting in, and they weren't recognized for their talents, and they certainly weren't economically rewarded for those talents. Fast forward to the computer age, and these people can literally plug into an economy where their skills are very much in demand. If you can imagine a math teacher, let's say from the 1950s or 1960s, today with a certain set of skills, maybe they are running the coding department for Amazon or something, and they're making bank. $250,000 in salary to start, or maybe they could be getting millions in salary and stock options and all the rest of it. So these people have huge potential for success, and so I want them to succeed because I like to see people succeed, but also because I like my cushy 21st century lifestyle of I can live online, and I can order anything I want, and I can live like I basically have the lifestyle of a billionaire, even though I'm definitely not a billionaire. And it's all thanks to these incredibly talented techie people who, what if Amazon doesn't hire them? What if Microsoft doesn't hire them? And what if they have an entrepreneurial bent to them? What if they want to strike out on their own? A lot of people who are good with numbers, good with code, good with systems are not so great at storytelling. This is sort of their downfall. This is where even, prior to the computer age, this is stories sell companies. This has always been the case. And whether you've got 5 competitors or 500 or 5,000, a story can help separate you out from the pack. And it can be the reason that you get the money as opposed to your nearest competitor. So we want these engineers and coders and other such people who maybe, they're sort of, without the aid of a marketing person or a storyteller or a PR pro, they might be in a sort of a circular firing squad situation for, maybe that's not the best metaphor, but they're sort of sitting around a table with their fellow coders or engineers and just building a product that they think is awesome, but they haven't actually talked to a marketer. They haven't talked to a customer. They have a lot of subject matter expertise in a particular area. They've been working in a particular field. They know how to build a product. They think there's a market for it. They haven't talked to anyone. They haven't built out something. And if they don't have a brand, if they don't have a story, they can't stand out. They're going to be toast. So I don't want that to happen. I want them to be successful. So I love working with people from that space of, technology. It's exciting. I often say, new is the most important part of the word news, and technology is inherently newsworthy and new. Like, we're always thinking about new products, new features, new capabilities. You think of, like, in at the bleeding edge, there's Neuralink, like basically telepathy. Like, this is crazy. Self-driving cars. Like, this is wacky, cool stuff. And so that's why I love being into it. Sorry, that's a bit of a wide-ranging answer, but there I go. I'm blabbing again. Go ahead.
Nice. It's like you're putting a spotlight in people that usually are behind the scenes.
100%. Now they get to be the stars. And they, when they're famous, when they're in the news, if that's the differentiator, then, more gets more. The winner takes all in a lot of cases. And if there's nothing else separating you from 9 other companies, being in the news, customers see that, investors see that, partners see that. It's very common for us when we're doing our weekly check-ins with a client, for them to say, "Oh, by the way, you were just mentioning us getting to Forbes and Business Insider, et cetera. We had a new customer who called us up, big customer, and they just signed, and it's because they saw us in Forbes and Business Insider, and they'd been thinking of doing something with us for like a year, but that never seemed like the right time. But then they thought, oh, this is a sign. I'm going to go back to their website and buy their thing. So that often happens.
Yeah, that's interesting because, as you say, you're based in Vancouver, but you have clients and customers from everywhere, especially also in the US as well, right?
100%. We love our American customers and we love our Canadian customers too. It's just that our American customers tend to have bigger budgets. So this is sort of, when you look at the tech industry, there's been, frankly, a lot of bad news, unwelcome news in the Canadian tech industry. The American tech industry is much, much bigger. There's more opportunity there. There's more
competitive as well, right?
Say again?
More competitive as well.
More competitive, yes, for sure. I almost think when Canadians start companies, this isn't universally the case, but I feel like a lot of them, their initial go-to move is, oh, where can I get grants to grow my company, like a government grant or a government program? And I don't think that's how Americans think. Like, I'm sure Americans will not turn down free money. And, there's a huge counter example to my point with Elon Musk, who is raking in, I think, billions at this point in subsidies from the for EVs for Tesla. Because, like, why would he turn down the money if the government's just going to shovel it at him? Sure, he'll take it. But it's less of it takes a village to build a business, and it's more like, I'm going to get mine. I have something, or I know something that's of value, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to build something big. And it's just a different mindset. And for the purpose of business, it's a useful mindset to have, a bit more cutthroat.
And you mentioned like storytelling and how you use this in your job with these customers. I was wondering how it was for you in the beginning of your career as an entrepreneur in my mail. How you use this in your own favor in order to get more customers.
This is such a good question. Let me break down what the process is that we use both for our clients and for ourselves, because it's the same kind of thing. Well, there's strategy, there's proactive PR, there's reactive PR. So strategy is just, okay, what stories could I tell? To whom? Why now? What? And you're figuring out. And by the way, an important part of strategy is you don't have all the time in the world. You don't have all the resources in the world. So where are you going to make trade-offs? Where are you going to make sacrifices in order to take a risk that you think you can get this reward? So, strategy is there's a lot of there. It involves planning. It's like what are the most important stories that tie into something else happening in that industry or something else happening out there in the world that we can tie in our company. And because we frequently will work with clients that hire us, and then it turns out actually they don't have new products that they can talk about. They don't have a funding round, a big sexy story that they can pitch, but they do have expertise. And they can talk about something that's happening in the news right now. So AI is a big thing. Every week there's something new. So let's say OpenAI does something great, or OpenAI does something really, really stupid. Either way, maybe our client who's doing something with AI can say what they would have done differently. So some part of this is opportunistic. You're looking for where you can add your voice in, and then proactively it's about building your media list, because and it's not just every reporter in the world. It's might be just who are the 5 or 10 reporters who might possibly care about X, and then reach out to those reporters. So that's proactive PR. And then reactive PR, you're probably familiar with this. Platforms we use like Quoted, and we used to use a thing called Hero before. Now it's converted to, I think it's called Hero. We don't use it as much, but there's a few other platforms you use where you can actually see the kinds of media opportunities that are out there for the taking. Reporters looking for an answer right now to a breaking news idea. And if you get back to them fast with something good, no ChatGPT answers, you will fail if you give them a ChatGPT answer. Believe me, we've tried. It doesn't work well. Just give them an actually interesting fact. And if you get back to them fast with something they want, maybe you get in. And so we've used this mix of different processes. We've used this for ourselves and for companies that we work with. I'm not an AI expert. In fact, I'm probably I guess I'm best known now for not using AI particularly effectively, because I just using this process of reactive PR, responding to a media opportunity that was out there. I think I was quoted in the Wall Street Journal a few weeks back about how we're not using AI at our PR agency because we tried it and it went sideways. So there's things out there. By the way, that connects to another part of the strategy is, what is the thing you can say that's going to provide a bit of an on-ramp, so that you can get to the part where you get to say the other thing that you really want to talk about. And so that's where some of the value from these reactive opportunities comes in. And certainly I use that in the Wall Street Journal quote. It's nice to let people know that we're in the tech PR business. So it works.
Yeah, it feels like in the long run, people that don't using AI would be like, are you unique because you're not using AI?
100%. Like the AI is great, and I use it for other things besides answering reporters' questions. Like if I need, let's say, a quick media list, I may use ChatGPT, or if it's great because it'll cycle through, let's say, 150,000 answers in 2 seconds, and then write out a little summary. And that's great. And you would actually think that might be useful for reporters, but apparently not, because believe me, we've tried. We've thrown them something like 20 different ChatGPT answers at various points because clients were like, I'm too busy. You know what? I did this ChatGPT thing. It basically said what I was going to say. And they always get rejected. Somehow the reporter sniffs it out, and frankly, we sniff it out too. Like we can tell a ChatGPT answer when we see it. So that's probably. I know I'm dwelling on this way too much, but this is a big PR tip. Don't use ChatGPT to answer reporters because it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of their time. They're not going to use it.
Discover the latest trends, strategies, and success stories in the ever-evolving world of business. CanadasPodcast.com. Subscribe now.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this person-to-person thing will be the best.
100%. Because often they're looking for not just an answer of, let's say, how does a business succeed? Let's say it's sort of a general, the U.S. economy has gone sideways. What can companies do differently in 2025? Could be a question or maybe a working title for a reporter. And they're actually not looking for an answer that applies to everyone. They want to know what you did. Well, I can tell you, Steve, when we did XYZ at our company, sales went up 187% in 2 weeks. So we knew we were onto something, and we doubled down. We kept doing that. That's interesting. Because your business is in a particular time and place serving a particular kind of customer. And maybe the people reading this article think, oh, wait, I see how we could do that too. Or, you know what, we're not in the same industry, but I see how that could apply with our industry. We're just going to tweak this method this way. And we're going to do that. That's really useful. The whole point of like, why are people so interested in the news anyway? It's like, it's people are looking for clues about how to survive, whether in business or in real life. That's pretty much it. We are very focused on our own survival and reproduction and all the rest of it. And so, any information is useful. This predates our era of smartphones and computers. I've seen images of people on, taking the subway train in New York in the 1920s, 1930s, something like that. It's a bunch of guys in trench coats with, fedoras. Like they're all dressed exactly the same. And every one of them is looking into a newspaper. It's just a long line of men standing, reading newspapers. And they're like, the thing they're reading is, how do I survive? How does my business survive? What can we do that's going to, I see sales are down in this. Okay, we're going to sell less of that. Or, oh, there's a war happening in there. Okay, well, I'm not going to sell to those guys anymore.
Just as we are doing right now, like Canada's podcast, we are showing some stories from inspiring entrepreneurs as your own history, and to tell how they can use all of this background and this resilience you've been through so they can apply for their own lives as well.
100%. So, one other aspect of the PR process that a lot of the companies that we work with find useful outside of the brand building value, which is the thing they're really looking for is, this is how we're different from everyone else. And here's the story. And actually, there's a benefit that happens from the process internally as well. And this can spin out, it can provide benefits throughout the company's marketing, sales, and even product development. Through the process of answering reporters' questions about products, about their business, about how technology works. These CEOs and CTOs and COOs and whatever from the leadership C-suite, they're getting asked questions by reporters that maybe they've never answered before. They've never had to answer before. And a lot of the time, the people I work with find this exhilarating. This is like, I didn't even know I knew that, but actually I had something interesting to say. And then they think, you know what? I didn't even know I knew that, but because of that, I know that my team didn't know this, and they need to know this. So there's a lot of learning that comes from the process of just whether it's talking with us in preparation to talk to a reporter or talking to a reporter directly, ideas come out that absolutely change how products are going to get delivered. Like, maybe we should, now that I think about it, we should sell it differently. Here's a tagline that I should pass off to the marketing people. I'm not a marketer, but I just came up with this on my own, and I think it sounds cool. Let's let them decide. So that's something that can come out of it. I think it's a beautiful process.
Interesting. Talking about this learning process, if there is anything that you know now that you wish you had known before when you first started the company, that would think, if I had only know this, and maybe you can share with the people that are starting their own company right now.
There are many lessons like that. Number one, I think you can get caught up in the details of, you'll create a big plan of, we're going to achieve this target. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. As in war, all plans, no plan survives for first contact with the enemy or with customers. And, you may have a plan to sell, let's say, to a particular target segment. And then actually your first couple of checks, your first couple of payments come in from another industry. And you're like, actually, those are our customers. And so forget that plan goes out the window. So the lesson here is you can plan, but be prepared to adapt very nimbly. Be nimble. Another thing that has come up that, like, I used to be very, I didn't want to pay for stuff. Who wants to pay for things? Everyone wants things for free. Truth is the paid version really is worth it compared to the free version a lot of the time. And if something, an app or a platform or whatever it is, seems like, you just need that to operate the business and you can't do without it. Like, for instance, with media lists is a core thing that we need to do our job. And I used to just record stuff in spreadsheets, and it's impossible to manage. You need a media database, and whatever it costs, that's what it costs. That's what your cost of doing business is. So be prepared to pay for stuff, look for value, but, once you've found value, just go all in. And I should mention, if I'm giving advice, all advice cancels out. So there's going to be times where it's like, no risk, no reward. You got to go for it. And then there's times where you're like, I probably should have been more cautious there. Or, I missed the red flags because I was so eager to leap in. Everything cancels out. I used to watch this, by the way, before Donald Trump became such a contentious figure. He hosted a show called The Apprentice.
Yeah.
And I noticed back then, I didn't know anything about business back then, but I liked the show. And every episode, it was two teams would compete in. They would get thrown a business challenge, like sell a house or something like that. It would be like one of the missions that they had. Sell a house. No one had real estate experience. Okay, I guess I'm going to sell a house. And every week, Trump would contradict himself almost every week. Like the first week, it'd be like, "Oh, I don't know, you didn't really go for it. Like, you didn't put all your you needed to put all your eggs into one basket. You need to throw all your energy into this because no other method was going to work, and that's why you failed, and that's why you're fired." And then the next week, it would be the complete opposite. Like, why didn't you, just sort of diversify your strategies? Why did you go all in on that? Anyways, I think you can still watch the show, but there's like other. The main idea is whatever advice I can give. It's like take it with a grain of salt.
Got it. And there is any book that you have read and you think is interesting to share with our audience?
So I'm going to share two books that I frequently refer to. One is Chris Voss. That's the author. The name of the book is Never Split the Difference. It's a book about sales strategy, which I've used a lot. And I have to say, some of the advice has worked well for me. Some of it has never panned out for me. But without that book, there's certainly some types of sales strategies that I wouldn't even thought to have tried. So that's a good one. It's actually about negotiation. It's written by a former FBI hostage negotiator. So you might think, what's that got to do with sales? Well, a lot. It's about negotiation. It's about what you can give up in order to get what you want. And it's so I find it very useful. One lesson from that book that I use a lot is it's a phrase that I use it for client management. It's called, "How do I do that?" And it's when the client or customer or prospect is asking for the impossible, and you just say, "Well, that's interesting. I'd love to do that for you. Here's the thing. We usually do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't quite line up with what you. I don't think we're going to get to the thing that you want with using that method. So how do you think we do that?" And either they will have the answer and they'll give it to you, and great, you just learned something. Or 2 days later, they'll come to you and say, "Jonathan, we thought about it, and we don't have an answer either. You know what? Just keep doing what you're doing, and just keep that up. Forget I even mentioned that other thing." Then the impossible demand goes away. And the second book is called How to Have Impossible Conversations. It's by Peter Boghossian and David Lindsay. I think that's the names. Or maybe Peter Lindsay. Maybe they're both Peter. Anyway, the point of the book, How to Have Impossible Conversations, is it's how to, well, what it says in the title, but it's really how to deal with people who maybe have different belief systems than you, they trust different sources of information. And if you're trying to change minds, which really, like, as a PR agency owner and longtime communications pro, I'm in the business of changing minds. I'm in the business of persuasion. So oftentimes you're dealing with people, you're talking with people who don't have the same background as you. Their framework is a totally different framework. They're not an alien, but Well, they kind of might as well be in some cases. And so actually, there's some great processes in there for how to ask questions, and really it's I think the heart of the book is around asking, how do you know that, or how do I know this? It's how do we know what we know, so that we can agree at least on the same set of facts, and so we're on the same page, and then therefore come to some kind of conclusion about reality, whether that's business or frankly, this book, How to Have Impossible Conversations, I found it useful in business, in conversations with friends at the bar, with my wife. It's probably saved my marriage a few times. So I highly encourage this book.
It's amazing, like, to embrace diversity, right?
Yes, the most important kind of diversity of thought, because it's people think differently. But, so long as we can all be respectful and, have some agreed on ground rules, we can come to some positive outcomes. I think ideally we can have more of that, whether people will probably think about politics. Yes, this applies to politics, sure. But in business and life, it's like, how can we have better conversations?
Thank you. Amazing advices and books. Jonathon, I'm so glad with the interview. Thank you for having us. I feel like it gave me a lot of insights, and I hope it has done the same with our listeners. People can connect with you at mindminder.com, right? You're also on LinkedIn.
Yep. So it's mindmeldpr.com that's our agency's website. We're also on LinkedIn, and I'm Jonathon Narvey, so you can find me on Twitter under JNarvey. But also there's the MindMeld PR Twitter. There's the LinkedIn. We're on there. We're on the interwebs.
Yeah, everywhere, just like us on the podcast. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for our listeners. We can listen to us on Spotify and also website and YouTube. And we're hoping that you like it. This story is amazing about Jonathon. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having me, Claudia.
Thank you.